One of the benefits, I as a union leader have been involved with the MUP since the start. I'm a representative at the meetings to be available if people have questions. And so I've seen the changes. Initially, the MUP process was a top to bottom look at everything in your unit. What's broken, what do you want to fix, this huge thing. And since then, I think wave 4 was the first wave where it streamlined to pick 4 goals and really learning the Plan, Do, Study, Act and doing trials and things like that. And that's also the first wave where each unit was not by itself during this process, but was in the room with 2 or 3 other units. I know in pre-op, when in our wave, the folks from the neonatal intensive care unit presented how they ran their shared governance or council structure, and it was very different from what we did. We had separate education, practice, policy, and procedure, and all that. And by seeing what NICU did and through their presentation, we decided to change ours.
When your team came down and discussed the resistance that you had met, it certainly prepared us, because we have a pretty strong practice council we've had in place for numerous years, and I would go back and give them updates of the process and what was going on, and the resistance to change was incredibly strong. So it was beneficial for me to kind of anticipate that a bit.
And so we asked them to give us feedbacks on how we could keep the patient calls on time by doing it their way, to give us an idea on how to change it, what they'd like to see it look like. And all we got on the poster was we liked it the old way, so it didn't help us at all with any feedback. So we just kept pushing through with the new way, and it was very successful.
We tracked the data through that, and it wasn't until we could present that hard, fast data as to how many more patients we were reaching the new way that people finally would believe that that was an okay way to do it. And when we presented the data, I think people's mouths probably dropped. It was such a significant improvement that from then on, no one said a thing about the new way, and that's just how it was. If you're putting forth any recommendations for staffing, things like that, or financial impact, that management, in order to improve it on their end, really like to see evidence that other places out there are doing this and it's working. So they want you to benchmark against other like hospitals, find that proof that, if we want to do it here, other places are doing it and that'll work. And so, for staff nurses, that's really hard to do that research. It's not something that we do all the time, and it ends up having to take place outside of the scheduled MUP time frame, so it's sort of on your own time. So that's been very challenging, or sometimes not even being able to find a match to exactly what you're proposing elsewhere. I know that was one of our challenges in pre-op. We haven't been able to find really a unit that functions like ours to say, hey, this is what they're running for staffing, patient ratios, this is what we want to run. So that's been a challenge, and that sort of held us back in terms of getting our final approval for some of our proposals.
And also not knowing what you need to achieve, because I'm a step behind them where we're about to present. So I'm scrambling trying to gather all this information, because my unit wants so badly to give the presentation and hand in our final report. And, it's in your hands now. Please sign it. But, I don't know how much it's going to take to get to that point.
I think from a union perspective, the MUPS process has been great in so many ways, reaching out to all the units throughout the hospital, as well as we're hoping to do this for all the outpatient services as well, so getting that contact with people, and just the staff themselves learning to tackle projects themselves, not relying on management necessarily to spearhead things, but learning that Plan, Do, Study, Act, trialing things, and really feeling a sense, I think, of empowerment to make changes or suggest changes that will benefit patients and families in the department, and just really getting that ownership of their unit and making those improvements. So I think that's the biggest thing, I would say.
So I definitely would recommend this to progress in outpatient, inpatient, anywhere. It's such a great opportunity to make change and work side by side with management.
And that's the plan, is to continue with the outpatient, all the outpatient units as well. I think we're to the point where we're almost finished with all the inpatient units. And so the next thing will be to figure out in those outpatient units where there might only be 2, 3, 4 nurses on staff, how do you hold these MUP learning sessions, and how do you do this whole process without impacting how that office runs. And so that's one of the challenges that we face coming up between union and management, is figuring out how can we transition this process into the outpatient world, and
staff.
with a smaller staff number. How do we make that work? So that's kind of the crossroads that we're actually coming to very soon, and it'll be interesting to see kind of what that looks like.
All right then. So let me just do a few housekeeping chores of my own here, accomplish them. One